Welcome, my dear listeners, to this dark and twisted All Hallows Eve episode. Tonight, shadows deepen and secrets stir in the silence. Gather close as we share whispered tales of spirit communication, but beware, for in the dark, things that lurk just out of sight are waiting for you to stray. So settle in close, for what lies ahead might chill your bones. Welcome to another episode of Spirit Craft. I'm Marta, your guide for today's séance, and I am delighted to have you here with me. In today's episode, we will discuss methods of spirit communication, and what better time to do this than on Halloween. We'll look at common methods and those that may give us pause, along with some essential rules for spirit communication. And who knows, perhaps we'll receive a message or two. But before we begin, let's take a moment to ground our energy and protect ourselves. I invite you to settle in, finding a comfortable position as we start this grounding practice together. Begin by taking a deep breath in all the way to your belly. Hold it for a moment and breathe out. Take another breath, feeling the air entering through your nose and traveling down to the lowest part of your body, and hold it. And as you breathe out, feel any tension, stress, or worry leaving your body. Now feel your feet pressing firmly into the ground, or if you're seated or laying down, notice the weight of your body pressing against the surface. Visualize this connection with the earth beneath you, imagining roots extending from your body down into the soil, steady and strong, anchoring you to this moment. Take another deep breath, and as you exhale, envision a gentle light surrounding you, a warm, protective light that keeps you safe and open. Set an intention to stay grounded, safe, and receptive to what serves your highest good. You can say something like, I am grounded, protected, and open only to messages that serve my highest good. I invite only energies of love, wisdom, and light into my space. All else is respectfully asked to leave. I am surrounded by light and protected by the earth, and I welcome only spirits aligned with my highest purpose. As we explore various methods of spirit communication, it's crucial to understand that without a clear intention, you may just be opening the door for any spirit that happens to be nearby. You should always specify who you wish to connect with and ensure that you're prepared for any energy that might come through. I want to start this episode with arguably the less scary methods of spirit communication: tarot, pendulums, and automatic writing. We have discussed tarot a few times in the podcast, and it's a tool that I use regularly. Nowadays, you see many people, me included, who will use tarot as a coaching and self-reflection tool. Its true origins are still debated, but it is widely believed that it started as a card game and very soon became a tool for divination and fortune-telling. Tarot can be thought of as just a tool that we use to communicate to our higher self, to a spirit, or to source. It can also have its own spirit and personality, and you will have heard me talk about one of my decks which is a bit sassy with me, or how another deck might be gentler. The jury is out. There's plenty of people who think tarot is just a series of drawings on cardstock, and that might be just how it is for them. However, I believe in animism, which is that everything around us has a spirit and a soul. Tarot can act as a doorway to connect to the spirit world and ask for guidance, or to just have a chat. On a similar level of familiarity, we find the pendulum. This is a tool used by both those connecting to the spirit world and New Age practitioners to connect with their inner intuition and their higher self. It was a while before I felt comfortable using a pendulum, and I was surprised to find how generally used they are, even among non-witchy people. For me, pendulums are a more direct way of communicating with spirits than tarot is, and when I started this journey, I had more reservations and, let's say, rules about the safe and correct use of pendulums. While tarot can be used to ask more wide topic questions, pendulums are great to answer yes or no questions. They can also be used to pinpoint things in a map, and my favorite, to check the energy centers in our bodies. Even though these two tools are generally considered to be safe, there are rules, as with anything, around safety and proper use. One of the most important rules for any kind of spiritual communication, if not the most important, is to treat it with respect. This is not to say that you cannot have fun when doing this work, but things like not being drunk or under the influence of other substances or taking it as a joke are key. There's another tool that is regarded as safe, and that is automatic writing. This is when practitioners let spirit guide their hands. For many of us whose brain is always on and in charge, this might feel uncomfortable or even difficult. But the idea is that we end up letting go of that control, letting our hand be guided by another presence or energy, and releasing our focus. Automatic writing can be real writing or scribbles, and messages can appear in the text itself, in drawings or apps, thoughts and images that we are able to receive when we are connecting with the spirit through that motion of putting pen to paper. We have now set the scene in the séance, and we are ready, so it's time to invoke some spirits. Things are getting real now, and there are many stories and legends about the next tool that I want to discuss. What do you think about mirrors? Pretty normal, right? We use them every day when we get ready for work. We look at our reflection on the windows and check our look one last time in the elevator before we get into the office. Mirrors are everywhere, and they're as mundane as they come. Or are they? Many cultures have viewed mirrors as doorways to other realms, and it's believed that looking into a mirror for too long, especially at night or by candlelight, can reveal spirits or even trap the scryer's own soul. People often covered mirrors after a loved one's death to prevent their spirit from getting trapped or wandering through the home. There is a common belief that if you see a version of yourself in the mirror that looks off in some way, it's actually a doppelganger, an ominous double who might mean misfortune or even death. There are eerie accounts of people glancing into mirrors and swearing they saw themselves wink or smile back without doing so themselves. One of the most famous stories involving mirrors is Bloody Mary. It is a well-known urban legend about summoning a spirit in a mirror by chanting her name. The legend suggests that if someone stands in front of a mirror in a dark room, usually with a single candle for dramatic effect, and repeats Bloody Mary a set of number times, usually 3 to 13, a terrifying apparition will appear. The figure is said to be a ghostly woman with a blood-streaked face, often screaming or lunging at the person who summoned her. This legend plays off the fear of summoning something beyond one's control. The ritual, though simple, is often chilling, and the legend endures because it provides that dare factor for those brave enough to try. And that leads me to a similar story, the Candyman. While fictional, its origins borrow from real-life urban legends like Bloody Mary, where calling a spirit in a mirror brings them forth. The idea of summoning entities by chanting their names is a familiar theme in folklore across different cultures, but there isn't a known perfume story or folklore specifically about a Candyman. Rather, the filmmakers cleverly combine elements of horror tropes, racial history, and urban legend aesthetics to create a chilling narrative that feels rooted in myth, even if it quite isn't. But there are so many other legends involving mirrors. For example, the devil's reflection. This legend warns that if you stand in front of a mirror in a dark room at midnight, light a single candle, and chant a specific incantation, the devil himself will appear in the mirror. Some variations say he'll try to tempt you with promises, while others suggest he'll curse you or leave a mark. The story has roots in folklore about mirrors as gates for darker entities. The story of the ghost bride is a common tale across multiple cultures. According to the story, if you gaze into a mirror at midnight and hold a candle, you might see your future spouse, or a spirit version of one who met a tragic end, usually a bride or a groom who died before their wedding. If a ghostly face appears, it is said to mean bad luck, or that your own life will be cut short. Rooted in Italian folklore, the Venetian mirror spirit warns against gazing into antique mirrors. Supposedly, these mirrors trap spirits of those who looked into them before dying. If you stare into one in a dimly lit room and make direct contact with your reflection, the spirit may appear beside you in the glass. Katoptromancy is the ancient practice of using mirrors for divination, from the Greek katoptron, which is mirror, and manteia, which is divination. In this form of scrying, practitioners would gaze into a mirror's surface, or mirror-like, to receive visions, messages, or glimpses of future events. It was often associated with contacting spirits or gaining insights into mysteries and hidden knowledge. And historically, katoptromancy appears in various cultures. In ancient Greece, people believed that mirrors could reveal truths from the gods. In some practices, mirrors were placed over water or held at specific angles to allow supernatural beings to speak or show themselves. The Romans and the Celts believed mirrors could serve as portals to other realms or as windows into one's fate, particularly in matters of love, health, or fortune. During the Middle Ages, katoptromancy was largely associated with magic, leading some to fear mirrors as objects that could trap souls or allow entities to cross over. This type of divination often requires specific rituals, such as performing the practice at night or by candlelight, as darkness was thought to thin the veil between worlds. One of my favorite methods of scrying is by fire. Ever since I was a child, I would stare into the flames of the fireplace and become mesmerized by their dancing movements. I would then lose track of time and find myself taken out of wherever I was, and I was able to watch things happening, like in a movie. Back then, these instances were just stories for me, like a fairy tale. But with age, I've come to realize that it was my way of looking through an open doorway into another realm. Since I don't have access to an open flame, and many of us don't, candle scrying is the next best thing. In order to do this, you need to be in a dimly lit room or at night and have one single candle burning. You have to relax and do all your usual preparations and protections. Afterwards, you gaze into the dancing flame. Nothing may happen at first, but after a while, messages may appear in the form of knowledge, words, shapes, or colors. Sometimes it's hard to make sense of the messages that appear, so it's important to be able to record them by writing them when you finish, or my favorite way, by using the voice memo app on my phone. This way, by talking things out loud as they happen, I have an accurate account of the messages I received, even if it means there's a lot of silence in the audio. I can then transcribe what I need and discard the file. Any of these methods are ways to open a channel of communication with the other side. And there is no more direct method of communication, more famous, and maybe with more rules and legends attached to it, than the Ouija board. It is surprising to learn that the infamous Ouija board started as a board game. When it came out, everyone wanted to play with it and receive messages from spirits. It was patented in 1890, and due to the fascination with spiritualism at the time, it became a success. Later on, it seems, in 1973, the movie The Exorcist showed the main character, a young girl named Regan, being possessed by a demon after using a Ouija board by herself. And so the much loved and enjoyed board became an item to fear and filled with rules on how to use it safely. Suddenly it appeared in horror movies and its legend as a dangerous door to the spirit world grew. You should choose your participants wisely, ideally between 2 and 4 if you're using a Ouija board, and try to create a safe space by ensuring that you attempt spirit communication in a quiet place, dimly lit and free from distractions, so everyone can stay calm and focused. Doing a protection ritual is advisable. Always set a clear beginning and a clear end to the session, using a greeting and a farewell, and many boards have the word goodbye on them. This will ensure that no unwanted energies linger, and of course make sure you know who you want to contact. Don't just wait for any spirit passing by to come through, because that would be like opening your front door and inviting any random person to come in. Invite those you want and respectfully ban access to those you don't. Having ground rules for your living companions always helps. Avoid asking questions about death or other topics that might make participants emotional or make them react negatively. We want to keep the energy calm and relaxed to have a likewise experience. It helps having someone writing down the answers and not actively touching the planchette, as sometimes it can move fast and make it difficult to remember the words that have been spelled. And on the note of that planchette, rest your fingers lightly on it to avoid influencing it. The energy can be fast and erratic at times, so try to remain calm. Spirits can feed off our energy, and if we are stressed and create an intense, scary environment, this may attract the wrong kind of energy to us. We may not hear what we want, or the answers might not make sense, but keep a respectful attitude. If you're not taking it seriously or start laughing at the situation, it might be seen as very disrespectful. Always end the session by moving the planchette over the goodbye and sever any remaining energetic connection. You can then close the ritual, extinguish the candle, and so on. One of the rules is to never use the Ouija alone. I am in two minds about this because I get that the energy might be too intense for just one person to deal with, plus keeping track of the answers can become trickier. However, using a Ouija board in a group brings other challenges, such as some people not taking it seriously or bringing fear and worry into the session. If you are an experienced medium and know what you're doing, I don't see why you shouldn't be able to use it on your own, especially if you follow all the safety and protection rules. But it will depend on whether this method scares you. Doing it in a group might make you feel safer and more in control, which might be reflected in the energy you put out. Never assume that the entity talking is being honest, and as with everything, it's wise to approach it with curiosity but also caution. Double-check things and be in charge. I mentioned this earlier, but don't use a Ouija board if you're under the influence of alcohol or other substances, and this applies to all types of spirit communication and journeying. If you're not feeling well due to illness or emotional issues, it's best to avoid it and wait until you feel better and more in control. I find it fascinating how so many cultures have ways of communicating with spirits and how many methods there are. I must admit that I've never tried mirror scrying because it gives me pause. Even as a child, way before I was allowed to watch horror movies, mirrored surfaces at night scared me. Even to this day, the garden door at night makes me uncomfortable because the darkness outside makes the glass act as a mirror, and I always have this feeling that a face is going to suddenly appear. To this day, I'm not sure what's more terrifying, the face being a person on the outside of that door, or the face being a spirit inside the glass reflection. I am careful around mirrors, especially on certain days or times, such as tonight. And I try to always look at them directly, never out of the corner of my eye. Have you ever brushed your teeth and as you're spitting the toothpaste out, have this fear that when you get back up, someone will be reflected on the mirror just behind you? However, I have used a crystal ball to scry, with positive results, so maybe I'll use a mirror one day. But as I believe mirrors to be portals to the spirit world, I'm a bit more careful around them. Silly, I know, because I use other methods of spirit communication. As we approach the end of tonight's seance, It's time to increase the intensity and tell you a personal story using the Ouija board. I was young, maybe 12 years old, and playing with my friends outdoors by our flats, when one of them brought the Ouija board out and suggested we played. I used to be a scaredy cat, so I wasn't sure about it, but ended up being convinced. At the time we were studying the discovery of America, so someone suggested to connect with Christopher Columbus, who, because of the Spanish education system, we believed to be a good person, so he was going to be a good spirit. I cannot remember if we connected with him or someone else, but I know that I thought the board owner was moving the planchette to scare the rest of us, but she swore she wasn't. The spirit we contacted was not a nice entity, it seemed, and soon enough, the conversation turned scary. I wanted out. I hadn't even wanted to play to begin with, but there I was, enduring and terrified. And then it spelled, cuidado, watch out. And before we had time to react, a big dog, like a Rottweiler type of dog, came running out of nowhere, growling and barking towards us. We screamed and scrambled as quickly as we could, while the dog gave us chase, until we managed to get into one of the buildings, only to find that the dog had disappeared as quickly as it had showed up, and it wasn't chasing us anymore. To this day, I haven't used the Ouija board again, and it's a method of spirit communication that I respect, like one might respect the ocean or a wild animal. I know it can be an invaluable tool, and one that I will use again at some point. But for now, I'm happy using tools that have no negative connotations for my inner child. So who knows what's really out there, waiting for us on the other side? Maybe it's all stories and shadows, or maybe, next time you are alone in the dark, you may hear a whisper or feel a chill and wonder, what if it's all real? Halloween or Samhain has always been more than tricks and thrills. Tonight is a time when the worlds of the living and the spirits are closer than ever, and we honor those who've walked before us, remembering their stories, their wisdom, and the mysteries that still live on through us. As we close this seance and honor the spirits who might have joined us tonight, we must always say goodbye. When we finish reaching into other realms, we gently send those energies back, thanking them and releasing them so they don't linger. And so from the spirit to us, and from us to them, goodbye.